Hello, and welcome to the Amy Edwards Show. I'm your host, Amy Edwards. I'm so excited about today's episode. We are here to make our lives shine as brightly as they can in the most efficient way possible. That is what I'm all about. I'm using my voice to share my experiences and the wisdom and beautiful knowledge of so many incredible people. Today is absolutely no exception. We have friends of the show on today, Kimi Inch and Kayce Neill. Ladies, I am so excited to see you and to share this today. You are some of the hardest working people that I have encountered. So I'm so excited that you could fit this in today and we could talk about heartgasms and your play party and your and more experience because it has definitely brought a lot to my life. So welcome today.
Good morning. So good to see you.
So good to see y'all. Yes. Well, first off, I'm going to intro you guys just a little bit. And if I miss anything or get anything wrong, please don't hesitate to let everyone know.
We'll find a way, Amy, to correct you. Don't worry.
That's right. Maybe I'm going to make an intentional mistake. So Kimi Inch is a kink expert, professional dominatrix, kink BDSM educator, published author, somatic healer, and she has been featured. You have been featured on the Wall Street Journal, New York Post, Business Insider, Time Out Magazine, ABC's 2020, Nightline, Oprah Winfrey Network, and most recently on Sex Life on Epix, a new show that's out, which I haven't watched yet, and I'm really excited to. Kayce Neill is a love and intimacy expert and coach. You have a master's in mental health counseling. MA, you have a lot of letters after your name. MA, CHPC, CEBC. You're a trauma therapist, intimacy and pleasure coach, dominatrix, erotic educator, and experienced high performance coach, and especially trained in erotic blueprints. Did I about cover it?
Got it. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Well,
Good
you've been on the show
job.
before. Yay. You've been on the show before. We did Talking Dirty. And Kimi, you've been on before to talk conscious kink. And today we're going to talk about what you guys have done with the and more experience that you've created and what you're teaching people. And so I experienced it in a abbreviated form and instead of the whole 4-day experience, but I want to share my experience briefly in the beginning here, and then I want us to talk about what the experience is and why you guys provide this for people and what results you've seen as well and what people can get out of it and what they can expect. And so does that sound like pretty good to you guys?
Sounds great. I love it. I'm excited to
Cool.
hear more about your experience because I know there was some challenges there for you. So I'm super excited to hear more.
Well, I want to say thank you to you both for encouraging me to do this because it is a leap. And anytime I hear people say, oh God, I could never do that, because I've told some people about my experience and they go, oh my God, I'd be so nervous. I could never do that. And I'm like, that is always my cue to get louder about it and to share more about it. And that's why I wanted to have you guys on too, to talk more about it, because those are the spots that push us out of our comfort zone into this growth of things that we didn't even know were possible. So that said, so my experience, you've invited us to these before. I say us, me and Justin, but I'm going to speak about my experience. You've invited us to these before, and I've always had a good excuse. I've always had a reason, like, oh, my kids, I have my kids that weekend or whatever it is. And this time around, I didn't have an excuse. I was like, and I'm so honest, I was like, well, I'm not going to say I do when I don't. I was like, we can actually go. And you were inviting us to the play party portion of your 4-day and more experience that's here in Austin, Texas. And I was like, okay, and I trust you both so much. And I've gotten so much wisdom out of our conversations and just interactions with you. So I thought, okay, yes, I'll do it. And we said yes. And I had encouraged Justin to confirm with you, and he hadn't confirmed over days. And I was having a lot of angst, like, are we going or not going? I need to know so I can mentally prepare. And finally he said, yes, we're going. And so I was like, okay. So I started to delve into my feelings around it and I realized I was super scared. And so I was like, what am I scared of? It's just
Mhm.
people, and it's people that I trust. And yet I was having so much angst, and I was like, am I feeling insecure, and what is that about? Do I feel like I won't be safe in this environment?
Mhm.
And a lot of it for me too was the fact that I'm completely sober now, and so many times experiences that I've had around anything sexual or pushing my limits, even like plain old sex,
Mhm.
so much of it goes back, and I know this is true for lots of people. There's alcohol involved, or there's
Yeah.
something to loosen you up, and I wasn't relying on anything in this except myself. And so being sober in this space was a huge push too. And so I knew there was that. And then I also just didn't understand what to expect. And I think that I'm the type of person that just likes to know at least what to expect. And going in cold is scary for me.
Mhm.
And also, I am a perfectionist in a lot of ways. That's something, a codependent thing that I've had to work on, even in
Mhm.
podcasting. I've done podcasts about this and how I thought, oh, I need to figure out how to do it right.
Yeah.
And as if there was a wrong way. And so I I did a lot of work, and I would get to points where I thought, oh, I feel fine. Why am I taking this so seriously? Loosen
Mhm.
up, relax. And I thought I was there until the day of the experience. And then I just basically started to have a nervous breakdown. and
Yeah.
and Justin and I were kind of fighting because I was so up in my head, and I meditated and I thought I would be okay, but I would go right back. And then I went to try to figure out what to wear. And I basically had another breakdown, and I just didn't know what to wear. I texted him, I texted you. I was like,
Mhm.
and you were trying to put my mind at ease, but my mind was having none of it. and,
Yeah.
and so as the day progressed, I mean, I was in tears, and just thinking about it, I was in tears. I was getting ready, putting my makeup on, and I mean, like crying. And I was like,
Mhm.
what? It was just this fear of the unknown. I was like, am I going to an orgy? What am I doing? Am I going to do everything wrong? Do I have to talk? Do I have to, you know?
Yeah.
And and finally, I got there, and I was just very proud of myself for getting there. Because Kimmy, you had texted and said, just at least come to the opening ceremony, because you do have an opening and closing ceremony. It's very structured.
Mhm.
And so I was like, fine, I'll just get there to that. and so, and really, I think a lesson in this for me was baby steps. Like, just do the next thing. Can you do that? Yes, I can do that. And so many times in life, that's a good metaphor, right? Just can you just sit in front of the microphone? Can you answer a question? Can you just,
Mm.
whatever it is, can you just do the next thing rather than approaching it from this gigantic picture?
Totally.
So I got there, and I was still way up in my head. I think I bumped into you first, Kayce, and you were like, how are you doing? And my eyes just like filled with tears, and I was like, well, I'm here. and we were both, Justin really didn't know what to expect either. And so, but I think he was really worried about me at
Mhm.
that point. So I had
Mhm.
kind of taken the attention off of his experience, and he was worried about me. And I felt kind of bad about that.
Mhm.
And as soon as we got there, we encountered someone we knew, and that was helpful. And he was one of your angels. And I
Mhm.
know anonymity is one of your rules. And so I'll just keep it at that. But that was comforting, and he was very kind. And so anyway, I was able to take a breath. We went into the opening ceremony. I didn't really know. I knew a couple of people, but everybody seemed very relaxed. And, you started to do some exercises with people. And I had my back against the wall. I was looking down at the floor, and I just couldn't even participate. The
Mhm.
exercises were kind of like the exercises you do if you've ever been in an acting class, where you kind of connect with people, look people in the eye, and things like that. And I was like, I'm out. I can't even.
Mhm.
and Justin kind of got irritated with me, and he was like, fine, let's just go. And he left the room. And I was like, well, wait, I'm here.
Mhm.
Well, I'm at least trying. And so we went into one of your separate rooms while the opening ceremony was going on. And we kind of had a little tiff. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And I was like, look, I'm
Mm.
here. I'm here. I've showed up. And by that point, I heard you talking, Kimmy, in the other room. And I thought, she's just talking now. I can do that.
Mhm.
Let's just go in and hear what she's saying. And so we went back in and we were able to sit down,
Mm.
and I was able to just hear what you were saying. And you went over some of the rules, which I can't remember all of them, but I know it was an anonymity, and it was about consent. And
Mhm.
you also covered your first experiences at events like this. Both of you did. And that was really comforting because, Kimmy, I think your experience, which I'll let you tell, but it
Mhm.
was kind of similar to mine. You were like, my partner and I were fighting. I
Mhm.
was angsty and all this. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And that was comforting to hear. And as the intro went on, and you covered more rules, you covered what the rooms were about, you covered, there was a room where you could just be, the white room, that's
Mhm.
just about meditating, about nothing, you know too racy or anything like
Mhm.
that. And it put my mind at ease, and I was like, which I had kind of known that, but I still needed to hear it. And I didn't understand that it was just okay to go there. And so I was getting a
Mhm.
grasp on that, and I was like, okay, I can just do the next thing. And you had also suggested to everyone, imagine what you would do at the most tame to walk out of
Mhm.
here with a smile on your face, and then the wildest thing that would make you walk out of here with a smile on your face. And I thought, I can't even imagine walking out of here with a smile on my face, which is really
Mm.
sad. And we broke into groups, and I
Aw.
said that to my group. And I remember I was looked at with kind of like, oh, and I thought, oh
Yeah.
God, why can't I do this? And I
Mm.
don't know. I was beating myself up a bit about it. And so
Wow.
you then, I know, and
Mhm.
you then suggested that we decide what we're going to do. And this, I'm condensing this way down for time's sake,
For
but
sure.
you suggested that we think about what we want to do for the first 15 minutes. And our friend that we had run into suggested we go in the white room for the first 15 minutes. He would sit with us and we could just talk. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And so we did. And then he somehow got wind of, like, I like foot massages, which I do. And he said, what if Justin rubs your feet for a few minutes? And I was like, yeah, I like that. And I didn't, I started to understand that even just doing that was okay. Like asking for a
Mm.
foot massage. Like, I didn't understand that that was okay. If I wanted, like, my shoulders rubbed, or so, just like, or if I just want somebody to rub my temples. I mean, and our friend started to guide me a little bit, and he said, "Can I guide your breathing right now?" And I said, "Sure." And I'm a pro at that. I'm like,
Mm.
"Yes." And so it started to feel more comfortable.
Mm.
And so I could breathe, I could relax. I felt my heart rate come down. And then you rang a bell. First 15 minutes was up, and it was whatever you want to do after that. So we thanked
Mm.
him, and he moved on, and we looked at each other, and we were like, and Justin said, well, do you want to walk around? And I was like, okay, I'll walk around. So we walked around, and we bumped into you, Kimmy,
Yes.
and and you asked for a specific experience and
Yeah.
with
I
Justin.
asked for
It's
a
something
spanking.
you asked for, a spanking. Yeah, because he's good at that.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So are
and
you, Amy?
we've done that. Thank you. And so we've done that before. So again, it was almost like out of my comfort zone, but still in it a little bit. And so we've done it. I've been to your place before. And so I was like, that I can do. And so it just started to be these little baby steps. Can you do that? Can you go upstairs? Can you? And it started to be fun. And I was surprised. And I thought, okay, I'm relaxing. I'm doing okay. And we ended up staying the whole time. We went upstairs. We ended up having such a beautiful experience that everyone, like, the way I've described it, it was just sensual, and it was classy, and it was beautiful, and everyone was so kind and understanding. Nothing was overstepping. We ended up having just an amazing time. And then after a few hours, you rang the bell, I think, and you said, there's one more song, it's closing ceremony. And we were able to all convene together and share our experiences. And I was like, oh, I know I should talk probably. And Justin said, I think Amy should talk. And I was like, okay. So I did. I shared that experience. But and I was glad to. Everyone was so kind to me and understanding. No one judged me. And we ended up leaving feeling so good. And I was leaving with a
With a
smile on my
smile
face.
on
And
your
I felt,
face. Yay.
I mean, I felt so good. And I was like, I didn't even think this was possible. And it was such an example to me of those moments when we open ourselves up, we can feel so much brighter and lighter and shinier and happier and more joyful than we expected. And so we got home. I thought we were going to come home and have like big sex or something like that. We didn't. We were emotionally and mentally, I think, exhausted. And
Mhm.
we totally just went to sleep. And the next morning we woke up and we were able to connect really beautifully. And we ended up feeling this heartgasm that I think I felt in other instances when I feel intense love, but it was so nice because I was sober. We didn't have any depletion of hormones, maybe we did have a serotonin high, but during the experience, or adrenaline, whatever it is, but we didn't have that come down that you have when you're using other substances. And
Totally.
I loved and appreciated that, the sobriety aspect of it. But over the next 2 days, and I texted you about this, I was like, is this normal? We ended up having this heartgasm experience, both of us, for about 3 days. And I can still like access it very easily. I know you're like, my work here is done. And so I was just amazing. So I just thought, what an incredible thing to be able to share with people, because they might hear, sometimes you hear, oh, heartgasm and all these things. And people are like, how do I get there? And so it's opening yourself up to these things. And I lived it. So I guess I still look back, what was I so scared of? But I'm so happy that I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and did this. So, all that said, I want to know what you guys' thoughts are and where you are and what these experiences bring to you as well. And, the goals of this. And I just want to kind of
Yeah.
turn
All
it
the
over to you
questions.
guys right now. Yeah.
I mean, first, I just want to really celebrate you for your courage, and your share of this beautiful story has made my body like tingle and awaken. And I just feel so excited for you, because there are literally millions and millions of people who will never walk through a door like you walked through over that play party experience. And there's a million different reasons why someone may not, they may not have access culturally, religiously. There might be fear, shame, etc. And you are one of the very, very 1% few people that actually had the courage. And it sounds like it really paid off for you to step outside of your comfort zone. And I'm just really, really excited for you. Yay.
Thank you.
I loved, that you're sharing this story, because it's such a common story around feeling desires of wanting to open up to these sort of experiences, but having so much fear and resistance around having experiences like this. And I remember, the lead up to the play party with you guys, and even like maybe an hour or two beforehand, Justin's like, SOS, like, I don't know if Amy's gonna make it, like what's happening? I'm like, everyone just breathe and like, again, yeah, just come to the opening ceremony so you could at least see what that's like, and then you could leave at any time. And when I saw you walk through that door, I've known you for a couple of years now, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen Amy like look like that before. She was like terrified.
Little deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Totally. Deer in the headlights.
Mhm.
And I didn't understand even what my desires were. And I think that when you talk about those millions of people,
Mm.
it surprised me. I ended up talking to one of my best friends about it and telling her, because she was like, I gotta know. And as we talked, I was like, do you even know what your desires really are? And she was like, I don't think I do. And the more we talked about it, the more we were like, why are we not taught this? Like, why aren't we in touch enough with ourselves to know even what we like and what we desire? And that was a total trip. And actually, Justin kind of said the same thing. He was like, I don't think I know either. And it just helped us so much just to at least realize that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and that's so much of the work that we do is the number one problem that people come to us with is like, I know that I have desires. I know that I have wants. I know that there's pleasure to be reached. I know there's things that I can do, and I have no idea. You know, our culture has pretty much taught us that it is slot A into slot B equals an orgasm, and that's it. I mean, it's very, very narrow in what we are taught to desire. We're also taught to desire, right, like the Disney fantasy, and that there's so much more, which is why our event is called Something More, because there is so much more that's available out there. And so when we design our play party, it's built on that. It's built on allowing people to have an opportunity to experience so many different things that they may never see before. And I do want to add that, yes, you are sober, but in our parties are sober. You are not allowed in with any alcohol or any other mind altering substance. So that is a big no in our space. And the reason we do this is because we want people to experience what Eros, what pleasure, what sexuality feels like from that state, so then we can actually make better choices and really understand what our desires are. Oftentimes alcohol and the other our mind altering substances are what gets in the way from us actually understanding what our wants, needs, and desires are. They also oftentimes are where it takes us into consent violations and consent regret. And so for us, it's really important. And this is why we have an open ceremony and a closing ceremony, is so that we can create a really safe container. Because what we have found is the more that there is a container and that everybody is on the same playing field, the more people can experience, the safer people actually feel, which is really important.
Absolutely. You know, we like to say Eros is our favorite drug because it comes from within and we actually have access to it anytime we want. But you know, what's foundational is safety. Like you have to be experiencing safety to feel the fullness of your pleasure. Which is why it's so important that we create a sober event and we create the container we do with the agreements, which are basically, you know, confidentiality, consent, all emotions are welcome, which is a big one because a lot of people think they're supposed to show up and be uber sexy and like, you know, just walk in and being like this sensual creature. And it's like, you know, if you're showing up with some fear, like, please know that that's welcome here. And let us like maybe help you hold that a little bit, because it might be easier to share that in the group instead of pretending to be something that you're not, right? And then of course we say adult space is really important, which means take care of yourself. If you need to go out back and have a few breaths of fresh air, go for it. If you need to take a bathroom break, you need to get something to drink, just do what you need to do to take care of yourself, because ultimately these can be uncomfortable experiences and only you know what you need to take care of yourself. We can't do that for you. So we really want to encourage people and empower people to really feel into their bodies and take care of themselves the way that feels best for them. And, you know, of course, there's other rules around like, no photography and no, you know, respecting people's privacy and making sure that you're always asking all the way for permission. But yeah, we want to make sure that people are able to have this foundational layer, which is the safety piece, so that they can step into the fullness of their pleasure. And I think it just maybe took you a minute to test the waters, right? Test the edges to see like, okay, baby step, this went okay, I survived. Baby step, okay, this survived, you know, because you can sit in a padded room and bubble wrap yourself and think you're safe, but really people realize that they're safe when they test the environment and see if they push a little bit against their edges and take some risks and realize I'm still alive. And not only that, I'm intrigued to maybe step another forward step here. So like, that's how you test if you're safe, if you're truly, truly safe, is being able to kind of push up against those places where we feel most uncomfortable.
And understanding communication and understanding your own desires. And I've been surprised like how much of even what you just said about knowing your desires and taking care of yourself translates into all these other things. Because I didn't understand the scope, and I didn't understand how to, even once I had it, to communicate it and feel okay about that. But once you know it, you're okay with it, and then you can say it, and you're safe just coming from within. You create it, you know, everything is always starting in here. And that's been very powerful for me.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
For me and Kayce, you know, we're very motivated by creating these really mindful, conscious, loving experiences, because unfortunately there aren't a lot of outlets for these kind of experiences. We have gotten a lot of feedback that people have attended things called play parties, and it ended up feeling just like an orgy. And like they weren't looking for that. They were looking for connection and intimacy. And we call it a play party because it is about playing. Yeah, playing in the realm of possibility, playing in energetics, playing in sensuality, playing, maybe in a kinky way that has no sort of sexual exchange, nothing genitally focused. That's what we want to create for people to experience.
And we have no problem with orgies. No. This is why we have a separate room that allows for people to be able to do that. And so what we found that was really important is having these separate areas. So we have 4 separate rooms in our particular play space that is designated so everyone knows where they can go with what it is that they need. Right. So we have an upstairs area, which is where it's our sexual and our shapeshifter room, where it's almost anything goes, but people know what they're walking into. So it's not that that's the only thing that they are seeing. So they get this feeling, because I know I've been there at those parties where it's like, oh, it's not a play party. Like everyone's just going to be having sex with everyone else, which is great, but that's not what that's not what your ad said. That's not what I signed up for. And so I would have much rather had my own space to go and like talk to people, be in the energy, and like be able to pop in as I want to. And so that's really what we've created, is a safe place where people know consensually what they're walking into. And again, it allows for expansion. It allows for possibility, because we have everything from people who are just starting out to people who've been doing this for a really long time. And there's beauty in that, because both areas, that spectrum and everything in between, learns from each other. And there's so much growth and there's so much possibility in that. But if we shoved everybody in the same place, then it gets really murky, and people start to disassociate, and they start to override their own boundaries, and it starts to spiral, which is, again, not why we're here and not why we're doing this.
Oh yeah, dissociate. You said people will start to do that. That's yeah, you were the opposite of dissociate. I felt like it really was. Like, and I spent a lot of time in that upstairs space, and it was wonderful. I mean, you had great lighting too, which always
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful space.
That's part of a sensual experience, like it smelled like roses, and it was lit well, and it was just it was really just surprising for me in so many ways. And I think, I say I didn't know what to expect, but I think I had some sort of expectation. And I think it was a lot about I think there was a lot of self-worth in there too. Like, I'm not going to measure up. Like, I'll be the oldest person there, and I'm not, whatever it's going to be. And so learning that it was okay to just be whatever you are in that moment, because the word play kind of scared me too. And because I didn't know, I thought, oh gosh, I'm not going to know what to do. But the more you can just sit and know that anything's okay, the more you're able to go, I do know what to do. What are some of the other results that you've seen that have maybe surprised you out of this, out of what you're building?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest surprises that we hear in our space is that it's like doing a medicine journey without the use of any medicine. So people
100% it was.
Right. People are actually having embodied medicine experiences, and it's totally embodied. And they're also getting the opportunity to feel in the space and have expansions. You're talking about heartgasms. That's where energetics can play. That's this feeling of like, oh my gosh, there's so much love. Like, it's built from a foundation of love, not built from a foundation of pleasure. Pleasure is
or fear
is available, or exactly. And pleasure is available, and fear is also there, and they can intertwine. And there's ways to play with it and be with it. What we look for is what we call pleasure informed care. So we're looking for things that are bringing us life force, things that are waking us up, things that are moving us forward. And it doesn't mean it always has to be arousal. That is one of many different things that are there. And like Kimi said before, like one of our values is all emotions are welcome, because when you feel emotions, when you're really feeling emotions, that means you're alive. And that means there's so much more on the other side of that the emotion is just a message. And so what is it trying to tell you, and what do you need? And this is why both her and I are available throughout the whole party. And then we also have angels. I have about 5 angels that are working with us to oversee everything that's going on. So everyone knows who they are when they walk in. They're available for it if a process comes up, if a boundary gets crossed, if somebody is scared, if somebody has a desire and they're struggling to speak with it. Like they are there to enhance and support the entire experience, so that everyone knows that they're held and that they're safe. And all of these are things that we've learned throughout the years. I mean, I've been throwing play parties for over 15 years all over the world, and you've been doing it as well for many, many years. And so, you know, combined, we've been able to see, like, this is what works, this is what doesn't work, and this is what we want to create. For us, it's very, very important. We're a non-negotiable in the space that we hold, because we get to see the transformations that people have. It's something so beautiful when someone actually gets to share what their desire is, even though it's fearful and it's stuck in their throat. The fact that they can say it and be fully celebrated in it, whether they get it or not. That's the other thing that's really important. Just because you say you want something doesn't mean you have to have it, or it has to happen then. We invite everybody to take these play parties as baby steps. We invite you not to come in completely starving and think it's going to be a full buffet and you're just going to shove all the food in your mouth. You can, but the invitation is there's always going to be more parties. We're going to be doing this. This is not going to stop. So we invite you to play in your fuck yeses and bring in those that you really trust to maybe take a pinky toe and step into some of the maybe areas. But we invite you to keep the no's. The maybe should really be no's, unless you're dealing with one of our experts that we have in the space, where you're like, okay, I trust you and you've been doing this, you have mastery at this. And then we invite you to really own those yeses and embody them fully and get to experience them in as vast amazingness as you can.
So true. I mean, we tell people, like, this space can be your classroom, your science lab, where you can do experiments. It can be your playground. And I'm really amazed by the level of imagination that I see in these spaces. You know, people come in with incredible fantasies that they want to experience with different partners or with their own partner, and maybe be witnessed in that place, which can feel really vulnerable and really exciting. And the level of imagination and creativity that we find in our play parties is just bar none. I have never experienced anything so beautiful. And the way they're curated and how people come together to support another person's desires or vision is, like, actually just so beautiful. So people feel this sense of community. Like, I can be an erotic being and also be in community at the same time. This isn't a place where I need to always isolate myself, and me and my partner and our little couple can have to, you know, we have to separate. Like, we can actually be in the community, be erotic beings, and being supported and seen in that place and be celebrated in that place. It's extremely healing.
And you don't ever have to play with anyone else.
Nope. Never.
Right.
You know, like, that's the other beautiful thing.
That, and well, one quick thing, side note that you mentioned, Kayce, I just wanted to say too, it was like a medicine journey for me. Like, when I'm doing an intense medicine journey, I always, like, am intensely fearful beforehand. I cry. My ego fights against it. I mean, like, I have basically a nervous breakdown. So, I mean, like, you would have thought I was headed to go do bufo or something, you know, like, just with my own behavior. And then yet I push through it and I do it anyway, because I know I'm going to do it anyway. And I do it. And then I'm so glad I did. And I have a massive, shift or something like that. So yes, great. It's so true. And then what you were both saying too, and what you talked about, Kimi, like, it was interesting to do this with a partner, because I get annoyed, when people pigeonhole themselves, like, now they're in a relationship and it's as if they don't talk about the fact that they're attracted to someone else, or they have fantasies about whatever it is. And so many times people can shut down that part of themselves. I mean, I for sure have experienced that, because I've been married twice and divorced twice. And so to have a relationship now where we're pushing ourselves to get more intimate in that way and be able to talk to each other about those things and experience it together. So it's just an opening up that is really cool, because it's part of our wholeness as a human. You said erotic being, but as our humanness. And so many women do it a lot, like as a mom or something, and they'll just be a mom now instead of like this whole woman that has an erotic side that has whatever side, or there's too many to list. And so that has been very interesting to me too, and how it's pushed our relationship in a much, I think, healthier way.
Well, yeah, because
Sure.
so much of what couples go through is behind closed doors. And in these spaces, it allows people to have an opportunity to see how others interact. So there's a relatability, there's the ability to create community, like Kimi mentioned. There's the ability to be like, oh, I never thought about that. You can have conversations with people who have open relationships. You can have conversations with people who've been together 40, 50 years. Like there's the availability to have these conversations that most people never get an opportunity to have, and they get to be able to witness and see what else is possible beyond what we have behind closed doors or what we've been shown in TV and movies. And so there's a depth and an intimacy and a connection that are created within these spaces that aren't oftentimes talked about, and frankly, aren't oftentimes what the intention is behind the people who are running these parties. You know, for those who are thinking about coming to these parties, we really invite you to take a look at who are the people hosting it. What is their intention? Why are they doing it? You know, what is it for? For us, it's about creating community. It's about creating this safe community where everybody gets to open up more. They get to trust more. It's been so beautiful. The connections that have been made from people at our events and people at our parties, like literally people saying to each other, like, I finally feel like I belong. Like, I don't feel like an outcast anymore. My desires are normal.
I feel like I want to live.
Like,
honestly, like people,
it's really beautiful. And again, I think, you know, when we started going from community to like individual things, we've lost this ability to have these conversations and dive deeper into what is possible. And I know for us, it's very important. Another thing I'll say for your listeners is those who are in partnership, before going to any of these parties, we invite you to actually have what we call relationship agreements. Like, what are the things that you two agree upon within the relationship, knowing that there will be more play parties that you can go to, but what is the mildest that you as a couple want to experience? Also have your own, right? Like, it's very important for each party to have their own thing, but then as a couple, what is it that you want? And then within that, what are the agreements? And stay within those agreements. Because again, when you stay within your agreements, you create trust, safety, security, and a strong foundation, which then allows you to open up more. That's at least what we found with a lot of our couples that come together. The stronger the foundation, the more open both parties are going to be to try new things, explore new things, and see what else is possible.
Totally.
Yeah.
We tell people, like, let go of these expectations. Like, don't be that person who's like, if I don't get 5 blowjobs by the end of the night, it was a total failure. You know, like, we want people to really start small and really move slowly, like you did, Amy. Like, you moved slowly so you could stay connected to yourself, because, you know, it's easy to kind of get whisked away into the thrill of things. And having a strong understanding of relationship agreements is a really good step, because if things like jealousy do show up, and it shows up all the time, you know, not only can you guys meet each other in that place, but you can have actual support in real time in that place. I know Kayce has talked with a lot of couples,
So many couples,
during a play party that were experiencing levels of jealousy and uncomfortability. Is that right?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do when I mean, it's why I host play parties. I mean, personally, it's why I host them. Is I love opening the door to possibilities for people and being there for them so that they don't feel alone. So I can't tell you the countless number of conversations I've had with couples with they're fighting, or they crossed a boundary that they didn't even know they had. Like, that's one of the things too. Like, there are going to be things that come up that you didn't know. And that's the beauty of being in these spaces. And that's the beauty of what we're creating, is that there will be things that you just don't know. You didn't know to talk about. You didn't know would be a desire. You didn't know would come up. And that's why we have people like me, and we have the other angels around that are like, come on, let's go have a conversation. Like, let's go in the white room. Let's go outside. Like, let's have a conversation and see what's really there. Because for us, what we have found in our work is that rupture is going to happen in a relationship. There's going to be fights. There's going to be misunderstandings. There's going to be all kinds of things that show up in a relationship. How fast can you repair? That's the key. Ruptures are going to happen. People are going to fuck up. You both are going to fuck up. You're going to hurt each other. You're going to make mistakes. Like, things are going to happen. How quickly can you repair? And that's what's really beautiful about in these spaces, is like, there's going to happen at some point, and just know you are in a safe container where there are people that can hold your hand and help you through it so that the repair can happen like that. Because what happens is the moment you repair, you actually drop deeper into connection, intimacy, and depth that you didn't even know was possible. And so that's part of the beauty in these spaces is like, let's see what's available and know you're also held and taken care of in a way that you may not have been otherwise.
Is there something that's usually underneath the in the conversations that's underneath the issue or the jealousy? Is it oftentimes a similar thing like
I
I
think
don't know,
honestly,
fear?
it's a lot of misunderstanding and fear. You know,
Yeah.
we come from the belief that everybody's doing the best that they can, and they're not intentionally trying to hurt the other person. And so if we come from that place, then having these conversations is a lot easier, where at least having a third party go, okay, you guys are actually, because usually what winds up happening is they're saying the exact same thing, but they're hearing it and they're saying it in different ways, but they can't hear each other. And when we're in our irrational minds, and we're around a lot of Eros, again, why we keep it sober and why we keep mind altering stuff to the side is that that's already going to happen. Like you're already going to be in a mind altered state. You're going to be in body altered state, just given the nature of everything. And so having a third party there going, you both are saying the same thing. And so let's actually get you back on the same page because you actually are there. All of us really want to feel seen, loved, heard, and understood. It's the basis of every human being on this planet. And so how do we just get back into that space knowing mistakes are going to happen, people are just human, and like y'all just love each other. So like let's start with that and then see what else is there.
It can be so powerful to say, you know, I'm realizing that my intent didn't match up with my impact and I want to clean that up with you, or to say like, wow, like, you know, I'm surprised that I'm feeling, you know, upset by something that was said or something that had happened. And I feel like when I say I feel jealous, it's actually just because I want to feel closer to you and I just want to feel safe in this relationship, right? And being able to get under, you know, the fear and be held in that place can be so powerful. And everything's an opportunity. Like we like to say, everything is an opportunity. And sometimes people don't even want to put themselves out in these scenarios because they're concerned that it's going to destroy their relationship or their image or whatever those things are. And it's like, if you were to walk into something trusting that everything is an opportunity for more connection, more intimacy, more depth, then perhaps, you know, you would be able to walk through it a little bit easier, knowing that this is all possible as well.
It's truly challenging sometimes to let go of like jealousy or something like that. You can
gosh,
get
so
very
hard.
attached to it, you know, and it's a funny thing because you don't want to be in that space, but there's something that almost feels good about those chemicals.
You're feeling alive. Congratulations.
You're feeling alive.
You're alive.
Usually what's there under jealousy is that it's a need not getting met is really what's there. And so if you can take a moment and just recognize that jealousy is just a messenger, right? It's just saying like, hey, there's a need here that you're either witnessing somebody else experience or you're witnessing that your partner's giving to somebody else that you maybe you never realized that this was something that you actually needed. So there's a great place for a conversation of just like, oh my gosh, I'm realizing that jealousy is showing up. And what's underneath that is a need. And the need is, I need you to just let me know that you love me. I need you to let me know that like, we're good. I'm recognizing these irrational thoughts are coming up and like, can you just hold me for a second? Like,
you're not going to abandon me or whatever it is, you know?
Right.
Like,
and it's normal. It is normal to have these fears. It's so normal. And again, we don't talk about it enough. And so if we can give permission to people to be like, you're feeling jealous, great, awesome. What do you need? What do you need to be soothed right now? Do you need affirmations? Do you need touch? Do you need to be held? Do you need to go take a moment? Do you need some space? Because that's another thing that oftentimes doesn't happen in these play spaces is that there's no space to go anywhere. And so that's why we have a white room. That's why we have an outdoor back area where somebody can just go and take a breath, come back to their center, and then be able to come back in. And so again, part of desires is also knowing what are your needs and what's there. One of the other things that Kimi and I teach are oopsies and ouchies. And it's just as simple as it sounds. It's oops, I hurt you, or oops, that I didn't mean to say that, or I didn't mean it to come out that way. Like, it's just that oops, I really didn't mean to do this. And I'm so sorry. And what do I need to clean it up? Like, what do you need from me? And then an ouchie is like, oh, ouch, that hurt when you said that. Or like, ouch, that hurt when you spanked me like that. Like, can you do it this way? And can we try it again? Right? Like, they're very simple. We learned them as little kids. And when we were kids, you know, an adult, you would say ouchie, an adult would be like, okay, let me stop everything I'm doing, check in with you, see what you need. And then we can move on and move forward. Same thing for adults. We need it just as much as little kids need it.
I'm glad you brought that kid part up, because I've noticed that a lot just across the board. I've been paying attention to that more, like with my own kids. And when you say repair a relationship or whatever, like with kids, they are able to repair really fast. I mean, they can be crying and mad at you and have a big issue, and then the next thing they're hugging you and love you. And I'm like, how can I be more like that? How can I just drop it? Like, even if we have a disagreement or something like that over something stupid, not hold on to it for longer and longer, and instead just let it go, just fresh, just continue to drop it and repair. And I like that a lot. So I like that you call it play, because there is so much about that in it, and honoring those needs, which we do as kids, or we're able to say, ow, that hurt, you know, and then move right on, you know. And I've really appreciated that a lot. So thanks for bringing that up. I want to, in the interest of time, I know that we have a hard stop today. So I was wondering too, if Kimi, I could ask you like a personal question about this, because I know that you've been in a breakup very recently. And I was wondering what this is, I think the first one of these that you've done since your breakup. And I was just wondering how you're feeling personally around that and what it's bringing to you personally.
Thank you for asking. You know, I feel like these spaces are so healing, and we're here to facilitate and really hold space for our guests. And there's also an opportunity for us to receive just by being in the energy field of what's being created between the beautiful humans that are showing up in their courage and in their hearts, and in their desires and all of these things. So for me, like being able to guide people to places of ecstasy or to help them have these explorations is so nourishing for my soul. You know, it also gives me hope for what's possible in this world. Like, what is possible when we, you know, come together in these beautiful spaces to explore and what's possible. So like for me being single, I guess it's been about 3 months now. I find that it's so nourishing, like to be in community, to be in pleasure, to be in the energy, whether I'm participating on some level. I like to lead a lot of people through experiences. They come to me and say, you know, I would really love for you to maybe lead me through an experience where you're a leader and I'm follower. And I get such a thrill out of doing that. And I also even have an opportunity sometimes to receive, like I met you guys in the hallway and I was like, hey, you know, you've been to one of my past classes. We have a sort of a rule that everyone that attends our play parties has attended or worked with us in some capacity. So there is a level of education and experience that everyone's already walking in with, which creates just a whole up level of like people that show up to these spaces. But I saw you in the hallway and you have been to some of my past classes. And I was like, hey, I would love if you would spank me. You know, I would love to have an interaction with you where I get to receive, because I think it's important to role model that even those in leadership want to receive as well, and drop in deeper to the space. And thank you so much for accommodating my desires.
Yes.
I had so much fun. She knows. I was like, Kayce, I got the best spanking. And, you know, it just like set me off to have like a great night and to really be in service to others. So it was so fun to give and receive throughout the evening. And it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I think let's talk a little bit too about the somatic nature of these and like the energy that people can feel moving through their body. Because we haven't really talked about the heartgasm aspect of it too, which I found super interesting. So I think that there was like a lot of this energy that moved through my body that I didn't know was going to happen.
This falls well beyond like this genitally focused orgasm sexual experience that most people, you know, only know about. And it's interesting because we talk about in our classes things like subspace, dom space, these altered states of consciousness that can feel like almost like medicinal journeys where you feel a oneness with those around you, and even with God. You feel like, you know, a spaciousness, you feel like an intense feeling of pleasure and like detachment from ego and flow and in life. And I love that there was energy built up in your bodies where it feels like it was coming out like through the heart, and you were experiencing like intense pleasure, because all of that's possible. We even say, hey, if you're just all of a sudden crying, you know, uncontrollably, congratulations, you just had an orgasm, you know, like the body wants to release, you know, it wants to be in its full pleasure. So like, I love that you had this experience with a heartgasm. I'd love to hear what you think about the heartgasm.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the beautiful thing about energy is everyone gets to experience it in their own way. And it does become something that's kind of more challenging to talk about. But there is for me, how it feels oftentimes is this kind of like mentally experience. And there's like this deep, like opening, and there's a deeper level of just trust and safety, and knowing that like I'm in the right place and I'm with the right people. And it's the place that I like to call like unconditionally loved with boundaries. And so it's within a container, it's within a space. I'm being held by the universe, right? Like, but there's just this like overwhelming sense of like love and safety, and like all is really good with the world. You know, people experience the clairs in so many different ways, like clairvoyance and clairsentient. You know, like that's the ability to just know. That's like visions, that's feelings, you know, like there's all of those. And so people experience life in so many different ways. And one of the ways is like just kind of like an orgasm like we have in our genitals, but it can really come from the heart. And it's just this like pouring out of just abundance and love and beauty and pleasure and.
Right.
And yeah, there's just, and you know, one of the things your listeners can start maybe looking up, there's things like Kundalini awakenings that can help, you know, understand energetics. We talk about network spinal analysis chiropractors that have helped people open up to different energetics. Meditation is one way of doing it. Medicinal journeys are another. So there's many different ways where people can start to kind of open up into these energetics, again, which are oftentimes things that are a little harder to explain or put words to.
I also feel like, you know, we talk a lot about Tantra in the work that we do, and we talk about the heart being the fourth chakra, which is our, you know, our love center. And our heart just wants to love more and more and more. It has no discernment about love. It wants to just love. But things like our ego kind of holds that love at bay. So imagining that Amy and Justin, you guys were both at this really safe event where maybe your ego was shushed and was able to relax so that you could open to the full pleasure and the full capacity of your heart's ability to love, not only to give, but to receive it. Whether you were directly interacting with people or not, there was just a lot of love and respect and generosity in that space. And I just feel like it maybe could have been an opportunity for your heart to open even bigger because your ego was relaxed. And then the full pleasure of the heart can be experienced through the energy that you're feeling.
Oh, yes, that's so beautiful. And I'm just so grateful to have experienced it. As we close up today too, I would just want to give each of you the opportunity to say whatever really you were feeling today that you didn't want to leave without saying, or maybe there's something that came up during this conversation that you want to reiterate. So I'll turn it over to you guys, and then we'll go over everywhere that people can find you and perhaps participate in your next event.
I mean, I'll just say, you know, it's just a good reminder for your listeners and for people to remember that, you know, no one has to go through this life by themselves. Like we're all in this fucking crazy world together, right? So the invitation is to step into what's possible, to feel into your body and see like, you know, there's an invitation to try something different or to, you know, see what's possible. And I could take it or leave it at the end of the day, but there's an invitation here that, you know, there's a possibility for more. There's a possibility to try something different and to be supported and to maybe create more of what you want to create in this life. And so we just want to remind you guys that this is what we're doing in our work. We're just creating invitations. We just want to invite people to see what's possible. And we hope in the process that we can eradicate shame as well. So people can step into their fullness and come back home to themselves, because we're not taught this in schools. We're not taught in sex education, energy and sensuality and oopsies and ouchies. And we're not taught anything except, abstinence for the most part. And we want to give people an opportunity to learn more about themselves and their bodies and what's possible in this life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I would say that there's like at least two different types of fears, right? There's the fear that that's there to keep us from like death, right? That's here to keep us from the lions and the tigers and the bears. And there's that, right? There's that fear that's like, this is actually like, I'm putting myself in complete and utter danger. And then there's the like thing that we call fear that is actually just, it's what we don't know that we don't know. So I just invite people to really start to recognize the difference between the two fears. And if you're feeling the other fear, that fear of just kind of the unknown, that I invite you to step into more, just like you were talking about, Amy, like you had that fear coming into this place, right? It was the fear of the unknown. It was the fear of what you just weren't aware of. Mm-hmm. And I just invite anyone, like, especially in this space, if there are those fears, then find people that you trust to have conversations with, because if it's just the unknown, that means it gets to become known. And so if you can have more of these conversations, if you can learn about what it is, if you can find the safety, then it's not so scary to come through those spaces and come through that door. I do promise, like, I'll speak for myself in those two different fears, when I have pushed through in this fear, and not pushed through or forced or coerced, but when I've chosen to say, okay, I'm ready to face this fear and see what's really there, I have been surprised overwhelmingly, and my life has changed each and every time I've done that. So just
mine too.
Yeah, right. Just the gentle, seed planting of that.
Yes, so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Well, I want to say a huge thank you to you both for making time, because I know how busy your schedules are. So that said, people can schedule with you individual coaching, whatever they desire, or they can come to one of your events. So will you share how everyone can find you? And of course, I'm going to put it on the show notes as well.
Yeah. So for the time being, while we're doing some rebranding, you can go to KimiInch.com, which is KIMIINCH.com. And we have our events listed there. You can follow us on social media, either at nmore.x or at KimiInch.com or at Kimi Inch. And our next event is going to be August. So we have something from August 11th to the 14th. It's our 4-day signature Something More event, where we're going to lead people through techniques and experiences of how they can create the erotic lives of their dreams. It will feature a play party. And we do want people to know that in order to attend one of our play parties, they do need to get in touch with us, because we have to work with them in some capacity, and we could discuss what that looks like. So just to reach out to Yes More Please at nmorepresents.com.
Yes, and I'll put all that in the show notes. Oh, sorry. Did you need to say something else? I wanted to say too, I looked over the schedule of the 4 days, and it's a manageable 4 days.
Absolutely.
It's not like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for 4 days.
No,
like
it's not a Tony Robbins event.
That's why we do pleasure informed. We don't like the
pleasure-based.
We want to be in our pleasure too.
Yeah.
So
it's Thursday night, Friday all day, Saturday all day, Saturday night, and Sunday for a little bit of the day. So
yeah, because I had wondered, because I have my kids that weekend and stuff, and I thought, is this something I could do? But as I looked it over, I was like, oh, this is something I could manage. And so anyway, I hope to one day, if it's not this one, it will be one for sure, because
we would love to have you.
I can just imagine how much I would learn and grow in that space. So thank you for all that you guys are doing. I'm so grateful to know you both and to have had this experience. And thank you for coming today and talking so candidly about this and about your own experiences too. It's making a difference in the world. I'm a believer.
Amy. Thank you for your courage and your courage and sharing your voice about your experience. We want more people to know about these opportunities. So thank you for having us.
I do too. I've drank the Kool-Aid now. I'm preaching,
Yay!
I'm preaching about it.
Great.
Yes, it's really powerful and beautiful and spiritual and wonderful and all the things. And it is its own medicine journey. So cheers to the medicine of Eros.
Amen.
And yeah, thank you so much, both of you. And of course, I'll have everything in the show notes. Please give them a follow and check out their event. Share it with a friend, or at least talk about it with a friend. You know, putting that out in the world makes a huge difference. And please tell people about the show. Please share if you got something out of this or you just want to have a conversation with a friend about it. I'm super grateful. Review us in the show notes, all the things. Subscribe to my newsletter at amyedwards.com. So thanks, ladies, so much for being here today. And thanks to everyone who's listening and being a part of this. I love you both so much.
Love you.
Bye.